Pentagram City never really went quiet. Even when the lights blinked and the streets looked empty, there was always some sound. A fight in an alley, a siren, a laugh that sounded too sharp, a billboard that screamed color into the red sky. Vaggie hated that part the most. It meant you could never relax. You could never let your guard down. Tonight, she walked beside Charlie on the cracked sidewalk, eyes scanning every rooftop and window. Charlie held a box of printed flyers against her chest like it was something precious. The words on the top one were bright and cheerful. Hazbin Hotel redemption starts here. Charlie's smile stayed on, but Vaggie could feel her tension. Charlie always tried to look brave. That was part of who she was. Okay, Charlie said softly. We just put these up, and then we go home. No drama. Vaggie gave her a flat look. In this city? That's like asking the ground to stop being dirty. Charlie huffed a small laugh. Nifty would agree with you. They turned a corner, and the street opened up into a wider road lined with neon signs. The air smelled like smoke, and something burnt. Two groups of sinners were already yelling at each other across the street. One side had bats and chains. The other had knives and a big, ugly grin. Vaggie stepped in front of Charlie on instinct. We are not stopping here. But the shouting stopped all by itself. A sound rolled through the air, not like thunder, not like an explosion, more like a low tear, like reality itself had been ripped open. Above the street, the sky split. It was not a normal crack. It was a jagged hole with edges that glowed a harsh, sick green. The light pulsed like a heartbeat. The streetlights flickered. The neon signs stuttered. Even the sinners who loved chaos stared up, confused. Then something fell out of the hole. It hit the street like a dropped wrecking ball. Concrete shattered. Dust and smoke burst outward. Cars bounced on their suspensions. The two arguing groups stumbled back, suddenly unsure if they were brave or stupid. Charlie's breath caught. Vaggie's hand went to her spear. Through the dust, a figure stood up. It was tall, broad, covered head to toe in armor that looked like it had been through 100 wars. The helmet had no eyes you could see, only a dark visor. The suit was scarred and scratched. It had thick plates, heavy boots, and straps that held tools and weapons in neat, practiced places. The figure did not look around like a lost tourist. He did not panic. He did not ask where he was. He checked his surroundings like a hunter. One of the sinners laughed, trying to be brave. Hey, nice costume. Tough guy? The armored stranger moved. It was fast. Too fast for how heavy he looked. He grabbed the sinner's wrist, twisted, and threw him across the street like he weighed nothing. The sinner slammed into a parked car with a hard metal crunch. The others rushed forward, angry now. The stranger met them head on. He ducked under a chain swing. His shoulder hit a demon's chest and sent him flying backward. He drove a punch into another's stomach. The demon folded and dropped. No drama, no show, just clean, brutal purpose. A third demon raised a knife and charged. The stranger's arm came up. Something small flashed. A sharp sound snapped the air. The demon's knife clattered to the ground. The demon dropped too, clutching his hand and screaming. Charlie flinched. He shot him! Vaggie's voice was tight. He's trained. That's not random violence. That's a soldier. The fight ended as quickly as it began. The street was full of coughing, groaning sinners. Some crawled away. Some froze, suddenly very interested in not being noticed. The armored stranger turned his helmet slowly. His visor aimed toward Charlie. Vaggie stepped forward, spear ready. Back off! Charlie's heart hammered, but she forced her hands up, palms open. Hi, we're not here to hurt you. Are you lost? The stranger did not answer. He raised his weapon a few inches, not fully aiming, but not lowering it either. Charlie swallowed. Okay, that's fair. You don't know us. Vaggie hissed. Charlie. Charlie kept her eyes on the helmet. Listen, this place is dangerous. If you need shelter, we have one. We help people. We try to make things better. The stranger's helmet tilted slightly, like he was measuring her words, like he was judging the shape of her soul without needing to see her face. Then, behind him, the crack in the sky pulsed again. A deeper glow spilled out, and for a split second, shapes moved in the green light. Not sinners. Not these street punks. Something else. Something that looked like it had claws and armor and too many teeth. The stranger snapped his head toward the hole. His posture changed. Every muscle in him looked ready to strike. Charlie saw it in one clear beat. This was not fear. This was recognition. Vaggie felt it too. He knows that thing. The hole shuddered, like something on the other side had pressed a hand against it. Then it tightened, shrinking slightly, like it was deciding whether to open wider. The armored stranger took one step toward it. Charlie's voice came out small. "What are you?" No answer. Only a slow, steady motion as the stranger locked his weapon into a firmer grip, like a promise. And Charlie realized the question she should have asked wasn't, "What are you?" It was, "What's coming?" Charlie insisted on bringing him back. Vaggie argued the whole way. They followed at a careful distance at first. The stranger moved through the streets with a steady pace, scanning rooftops, watching corners. He never spoke. He didn't even look tired. The armor made small mechanical sounds with each step, like a machine breathing. Charlie tried again and again, gentle each time. "My name is Charlie. That's Vaggie. We run a hotel." No response. At one point, a group of low-level sinners tried to follow them, whispering about the new guy and how they could jump him when he wasn't looking. Vaggie spotted them and tensed. The stranger stopped without warning. He turned his helmet toward the shadows where the sinners hid. He didn't raise his weapon. He didn't threaten. He just stood there. The sinners vanished like roaches under a bright light. Husk was on the front steps of the Hazbin Hotel when Charlie arrived. Arms crossed, cigarette glowing. His half-lidded eyes took in the stranger and narrowed. "Great," Husk muttered. "Another problem with legs." Angel Dust leaned out the lobby doorway with a grin. "Ooh, look at this. Big scary mystery man. Charlie, you pick him up off the street?" "Angel," Vaggie warned. Angel held up his hands. "What? I'm just saying. If he's staying, I call dibs on—" The stranger's helmet snapped toward Angel. Angel's grin faltered for half a second. "On, not bothering him. Cool, 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 cool." Charlie moved to stand between them, like she was shielding the hotel with her body. "He needs a safe place, and we need to figure out what that crack in the sky was." The stranger walked past them without waiting for permission. He entered the lobby like he was clearing a room. His gaze moved over the furniture, the staircases, the windows. He noted exits, lines of sight, cover points. Vaggie watched him do it and felt a cold knot form in her stomach. "He's mapping us." Nifty popped up from behind the front desk, like a spring-loaded toy. "Oh, a new guest! You're covered in dirt and blood, and is that ash?" The stranger did not react. Nifty's eyes sparkled. "I can fix it." Vaggie stepped in quickly. "No, do not touch him." Nifty pouted. "But he's so messy." Charlie rushed to the front desk and grabbed a clipboard like it was a shield. "Okay, ground rules. We're a rehabilitation facility. We have a program. We have steps. We have—" She flipped the page and pointed at a bold line. "Rule 1. No violence in the lobby." The stranger stared at the clipboard. Charlie forced a smile. "If you want to stay, we need you to follow the rules. Just basic respect. No hurting people here." The stranger reached out. For one hopeful second, Charlie thought he might take the pen. Instead, he took the clipboard. He looked at it for a long moment. Then he set it down very carefully on the front desk, with a small round hole punched through the corner, perfectly clean, like something sharp had gone through it without tearing the paper. Charlie blinked. Did you just—" Vaggie snatched the clipboard, furious. "That's not signing!" Husk coughed out a laugh. "It's a reply, though." Charlie stared at the hole. It wasn't random. It wasn't messy. It was precise, controlled, like everything else about him. "Okay," Charlie said slowly, like she was talking to a wild animal that might also be a tank. "No violence, especially not inside. Can you agree to that?" The stranger didn't nod, but he didn't move toward anyone either. Charlie took that as the best yes she was going to get. Vaggie pulled Charlie aside near the stairs, voice low. "You are not keeping him here without a plan." Charlie's eyes didn't leave the stranger. "We always have a plan." Vaggie's mouth tightened. "No, we have hope. That's not the same thing." From the far end of the lobby, Serpentius slid in like he owned the place, cape fluttering dramatically. Ha! I sensed a disturbance in the air and... His eyes landed on the stranger's armor. His pupils turned into little greedy dots. Oh my, that is some very advanced gear. Vaggie snapped. Don't. Serpentius ignored her and moved closer, hands fluttering. If I could just take a few measurements. The stranger shifted, and suddenly Serpentius was staring down the barrel of a weapon that looked like it had been built to end arguments. Serpentius froze. On second thought, I will measure from far away. Angel Dust leaned close to Husk, whispering loudly. So, what do we call him? Big armor guy? Husk took a drag. Call him, don't make eye contact. Charlie tried again, softer. Do you have a name? The stranger stood motionless. Then he reached to a strap on his chest and pulled out a small, worn object. Not a weapon, a token. It looked like a metal badge or symbol with markings no one recognized. He placed it on the front desk beside the damaged clipboard. Charlie leaned in. The symbol was sharp, old, and serious. It didn't look like Hell's style. It looked like something from a place that didn't joke about war. Vaggie stared at it. That's not a sinner mark. Husk exhaled smoke. Yeah, no kidding. Before Charlie could ask more, the lights in the lobby flickered. Not like a normal power glitch. Like the air itself had hiccuped. A low hum filled the building, deep enough that Charlie felt it in her teeth. The stranger's helmet turned toward the ceiling, toward the red sky beyond. He lifted his weapon slightly, listening. Vaggie's grip tightened on her spear. What is that? Charlie swallowed. The crack. It's doing something again. At that moment, Alistair's voice drifted through the air like a smooth radio tune. Well. He stepped into the lobby as if he had been invited. Smile wide, eyes bright, cane tapping lightly on the floor. His presence made the room feel smaller, like the walls leaned in to listen. Alastair looked at the stranger with open delight. Now this is a charming surprise. A guest who doesn't speak. How rare. The stranger did not move. Alastair circled him slowly, like a host inspecting a gift. And such lovely armor. Practical. Brutal. So honest. Charlie forced herself to stand tall. Alastair, please don't. Oh, my dear, Alastair said warmly, without looking at her. I'm only being polite. His smile sharpened. Tell me, newcomer, are you here to kill us? Or are you here to kill something else? The stranger turned his helmet toward Alistair. For the first time, the air felt like it might snap. Alastair's grin stayed, but his eyes narrowed a fraction, like he had just met a kind of danger he couldn't control with charms alone. Then the humming stopped. Silence dropped hard. Everyone in the lobby held their breath, and far above the city, unseen by them, something else took notice. In a bright place that was not hell, a light flared in a watcher's mirror. In a dark tower full of screens, Vox's monitors flickered and replayed the same image again and again. A crack in the sky, and a warrior falling out of it like judgment. And deep in the tear between worlds, something hungry pressed closer. Charlie's voice came out barely above a whisper. Okay, we need answers. Vaggie's eyes stayed locked on the stranger, and we need a way to stop him. If he decides we're the problem. The stranger said nothing, but he stepped toward the front doors, like he could feel the city shifting around them, like he knew the next wave would not wait for anyone to be ready. The breach opened at dawn by Hell's standards, which meant the sky was the same red as always, but the air felt different, heavy, charged. Charlie stood on the hotel's front steps with Vaggie at her side. Behind them, Angel Dust fidgeted. Husk looked bored but alert, and Nifty bounced in place like this was a party. Serpentius had built a scanner out of junk, wires, and too much confidence. He aimed it at the street, waiting for something to appear so he could claim he predicted it. Alastair leaned on his cane, smiling like he had front-row seats. And the stranger, still nameless, stood one step ahead of everyone, centered in the doorway like a wall. Charlie glanced at him. If you understand me, please, don't hurt anyone who isn't attacking. No answer. But he didn't move away from the hotel either. The streetlights flickered. A green glow leaked into the air, thin at first like smoke, then thicker, like fog. A rip formed across the street, lower than the first one. This time it wasn't high in the sky. It was at street level, right where people would run. Charlie's stomach dropped. No, 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 why there? The rip widened. Something stepped out. It was not a sinner. It did not look like the demons Charlie knew. It looked like a creature built for war. Its skin was rough, its mouth full of teeth, and metal plates were bolted into parts of its body like armor. Its eyes were bright and wrong. Then another stepped out. Then another. They moved with purpose, heads snapping side to side like they were searching for targets. The stranger moved first. He surged forward, faster than Charlie expected, and met the first creature in the street. The impact was loud enough to shake dust from the nearby buildings. He drove it back with a brutal strike and followed with a blast that sent it sliding across the pavement. Angel Dust yelped. "Okay, that's definitely not one of ours," Husk muttered. "Yeah, I can tell by the fact it's not trying to sell me something." Vaggie barked. "Formation. Keep civilians behind the hotel." Charlie's eyes widened as she realized there were civilians, sinners, standing frozen on sidewalks, watching like idiots. Some were too scared to run. Some were too curious. Charlie rushed forward, voice loud and clear. "Everybody move! Get inside! Now!" A few listened. Most didn't. The war demons, because that's what they felt like, charged. The stranger met them like a storm. He didn't swing wildly. He didn't waste shots. He fired once, shifted, fired again. He used the street itself, slamming a demon into a wall, then turning and putting a heavier blast into the next one. Charlie watched, horrified and amazed at the same time. He was not just strong, he was exact. He was a person who had done this too many times. Vaggie's mind ran fast. If he turns, we die. If he stays focused, we live. She kept her spear ready, but she also moved. She cut down one demon that broke toward the hotel's side entrance, keeping it away from Nifty and the civilians trying to run inside. Angel Dust shot sticky strands of web-like silk to trip another demon's legs, buying the stranger a clean shot. Husk tossed a bottle, no magic, just anger, and it smashed into a demon's face. "Get off my street, freak!" Alastair laughed softly, and shadows under the cars rose like hands, grabbing at a demon's ankles and slowing it down. "Oh, this is delightful." Charlie hated that he enjoyed it. Then the sound came, a sharp, clean note like a bell. The air went cold. Charlie looked up. White light cut through the red sky, and figures dropped down like spears from above. Exorcists. They wore gleaming armor and carried weapons that shone. Their wings spread wide, bright and cruel. They didn't land gently. They slammed into the street like they owned it. Charlie's blood turned to ice. "No, it's not time. The purge isn't—" One of them raised her weapon, eyes hard. "Orders changed." Vaggie's voice came out like a growl. "Loot." Charlie didn't know her well, but she knew the look. No mercy, no listening. Loot's gaze swept the street. War demons, sinners, the hotel crew, and then it locked on the armored stranger. Her eyes narrowed. "That one is not on the list." Angel Dust whispered, "We have a list now." "Great." Loot lifted her weapon. "All hellborn and sinners are targets, and that thing is an anomaly. Kill it, then cleanse the rest." Charlie stepped forward, desperate. "Wait, those creatures aren't from here. They're attacking everyone." Loot didn't even glance at her. Hell is always the enemy. The stranger had turned slowly toward the exorcists. For a beat, the war demons and the holy soldiers faced each other, both violent, both sure they were right. Charlie's mind raced. This is going to become a slaughter. The stranger moved again, but not at Charlie, not at the hotel crew. He charged straight at the breach. He was aiming for the source. A war demon lunged to block him. The stranger hit it hard enough to flip it over. He kept going, boots pounding the street. Loot shouted, "Stop him!" Exorcists dove. Their attacks were fast and sharp. Their weapons flashed. The stranger twisted, blocked, and rolled through strikes that would have sliced a normal sinner apart. His armor took hits that made sparks jump. He didn't slow. Vaggie watched, stunned. He's fighting them too. Not out of heroism, out of mission. Charlie ran toward the civilians instead. forcing people toward the hotel. "Inside! Please! If you want to live, inside!" A demon laughed at her. "Why should I listen to the princess?" "Because I'm trying to save you," Charlie thought, and hated how unfair it was that saving people in hell always felt like begging. The war demons reached the sidewalks now, grabbing anything that moved. Exorcists stabbed anything that screamed. The street became chaos. Then the stranger reached the edge of the breach. The tier was wider now, pulsing green. The air around it felt hot and wrong. A larger shape moved inside it, like something big was getting ready to step through. The stranger planted his feet. He pulled out a device from his belt. Small, heavy, with glowing lines. He slapped it onto the pavement near the breach like a clamp. The ground shook. The breach flickered. The larger shape inside snarled, a sound like grinding metal and hunger. Lute saw what he was doing and shouted, "Don't let him touch it." 2 exorcists dove at his back. Vaggie moved without thinking. She sprinted and threw her spear. The spear struck the ground between the exorcists and the stranger, forcing them to swerve. Vaggie didn't even celebrate. She just kept moving, landing hard, blade drawn. 1 exorcist swung at her. Vaggie blocked, teeth clenched. Not today. Charlie saw it and felt a painful mix of pride and fear. Vaggie was doing this for her, as always. Angel Dust, somehow braver than he wanted to be, leapt from a ruined car hood and wrapped an exorcist's wings in silk, yanking her down. "No flying! Ground rules!" Husk fired a stolen pistol with shaking hands and immediately regretted it when it did nothing useful. "Yeah, that was stupid." Alastair's smile widened as his shadow stretched, trying to interfere without taking direct hits. He stayed just safe enough to keep enjoying the game. Then the larger shape inside the breach pushed forward. A clawed hand emerged, bigger than a person's torso. Green light poured off it like steam. The street cracked under the pressure of it. Charlie froze, staring. "That is not from my hell." The stranger looked up at it. For the first time, Charlie saw something like emotion in his body language. Not fear, anger. He slammed a second device into place. The 2 devices linked with a bright line of green-hot light, like a trap snapping shut. The breach screamed. The big claw tried to force through anyway. The stranger braced. His boots dug into the pavement. His arms locked. He fired point blank into the opening, not to kill the thing fully, but to force it back long enough. The claw recoiled. The breach flickered wildly. Lute's eyes widened. Impossible! And then the air changed again. A new presence arrived. Not bright like heaven. Not green like the breach. Something heavy. Royal. The streetlights bent, like they were afraid. Charlie felt it before she saw it. Her father, Lucifer Morningstar, appeared above the street, floating with calm control, his suit perfect, his expression unreadable. His eyes took in the chaos in a single sharp sweep. War demons, exorcists, his daughter, the hotel, and the armored stranger standing at the edge of an alien tear. Lucifer's voice carried without him needing to shout. "What?" Charlie's throat tightened. "Dad!" Lucifer's gaze locked on Lute. "You are early." Lute lifted her chin. "We have authority." Lucifer's smile was thin. "Not here." Then Lucifer looked at the stranger. "And you are not from my domain." The stranger didn't answer. He didn't bow. He didn't flinch. He simply kept one hand on the device anchoring the breach. Like if he let go, the whole street would become a mouth. Lucifer's eyes narrowed, not insulted, but calculating. He could feel power. He could feel purpose. Charlie stepped toward her father, voice urgent. "Those things are not sinners. They're attacking everyone. He's trying to close the tear." Lucifer studied the stranger for a beat longer. Then, with a flick of his hand, Lucifer snapped a ring of crimson force around the breach area, like a barrier wall. It didn't close the tear, but it held the space, slowing the spread. The stranger didn't relax. He adjusted, using the new barrier as support, shifting his devices, locking the tear tighter. The big shape inside the breach pushed again. This time, it met 2 forces, Doomslayer's trap and Lucifer's royal pressure. The breach screamed louder. Charlie covered her ears. Vaggie shouted to the team, Get the civilians inside, now! Angel Dust grabbed a screaming sinner by the collar and dragged him toward the hotel. You're welcome. You can thank me with silence. Husk shoved another inside. Move! Nifty slammed the doors open wide, shouting, No blood on the carpet! Even in terror, Charlie almost laughed. Almost. Loot was not laughing. She lifted her weapon again and aimed at Charlie. Vaggie saw it and went cold. Charlie! Lucifer moved faster than Charlie could see. A snap of light, and Loot's shot shattered against an invisible shield. Lucifer's voice turned sharp. You will not point that at my daughter. Loot's jaw tightened. Then you stand against heaven. Lucifer's smile returned. Colder now. Heaven stands against itself most days. The stranger didn't care about their argument. He pressed the final sequence on the device. The green line between the anchors flared. The breach folded inward like a wound being stitched. The big shape inside roared, furious, and swiped one last time, trying to break through before it closed. The claw scraped the barrier. Sparks flew. The street buckled. The stranger fired again, forcing the claw back. Then the tear snapped shut. The green light vanished. The air went still. For half a second there was only smoke, rubble, and the sound of distant alarms. Charlie stared at the empty street where the breach had been. Her chest heaved. Her hands shook. They survived. But the war demons that had come through were still here. Some were dead. Some were wounded. A few were running, scattering into the city like rats fleeing a fire. The exorcists pulled back too, regrouping in the air with angry, confused faces. Loot's eyes burned as she stared at the stranger. That thing closed a gate. Lucifer floated down to street level, shoes landing without a sound. He looked at the stranger again, closer now. Charlie could feel the tension between them. Two forces, two kinds of hell, two different rules. Lucifer spoke quietly, almost to himself. You are not a sinner. The stranger said nothing, but he turned his helmet slightly, and his visor aimed at Charlie, not as a target, as if checking if she was still standing. Charlie swallowed, heart twisting. He saved people. Vaggie's voice was tight. He also brought this to our doorstep. Husk exhaled smoke with shaking hands. Maybe both can be true. Alastair's smile stayed in place, but something behind it had changed. A tiny edge of caution. Oh, this will be fun. High above, Vox's screams replayed the same clip on loop. The armored stranger at the center of the storm. The breach shrinking under his hands. Vox licked his lips, eyes bright. Now that, he whispered, is a headline. And somewhere beyond the closed tear, the thing with the claw did not forget. It had been pushed back. Not beaten. Not finished. Charlie looked at the stranger and finally understood the new truth that sat heavy on her chest. This was not just a guest. This was a world-changing weapon. And if she wanted the Hazbin Hotel to survive what was coming, she would have to do something harder than convincing sinners to try. She would have to convince a demon killer that some demons were worth saving. By that night, Pentagram City had already turned the street battle into a story. It spread the way rumors always spread in hell. Fast, loud, ugly. Some sinners claimed the hotel had hired a new assassin. Some said Lucifer himself had sent a hunter to punish the overlords. Others whispered that heaven had dropped a new weapon into hell by mistake. Vox didn't whisper. Vox broadcast. He stood in his tallest studio, framed by glowing screens and clean white light. His smile was bright enough to hurt your eyes. Behind him, the footage played again and again. The crack in the air, the green glow, the armored stranger hitting the street like a bomb, the stranger locking strange devices into the road and forcing the tear to fold shut. Vox watched the clip like it was candy. He didn't care about the dead demons on the pavement. He didn't care about the civilians who ran. He cared about the moment the stranger stood against heaven's soldiers without fear. That face, Vox said, though the helmet showed no face at all. That body language, that confidence. A producer demon stepped close, nervous. Sir, we still don't have a name. Vox's grin did not fade. Then we give him one. He lifted a remote. The screens behind him flashed a giant title card. The Hell Cleaner. Vox spread his arms like he was welcoming a hero. A new player has arrived, folks, and he doesn't care about your deals, your titles, or your tantrums. He closes gates with his bare hands. He walks through exorcist attacks like they're rain. He leaned closer to the camera. His smile sharpened. So the question is simple. Is he going to clean the city for us? Or is he going to clean us? The studio audience laughed and gasped on cue. Vox enjoyed both sounds. But inside his head, his thoughts moved faster than his words. Armor like that means tech. Tech means control. Control means profit. He turned off the audience mic for a moment and spoke low to his assistant. Pull every frame, every symbol, every angle. I want to know where that suit was made and what powers it. The assistant swallowed. And if we can't? Vox's eyes flashed. Then we build a cage first and ask questions later. He turned the mic back on and lifted his voice. Stay tuned, sinners. We have exclusive coverage. And maybe, just maybe, an exclusive interview. His smile widened, because Vox already knew one thing for sure. If this hell cleaner could close a tear between worlds, then Vox could open one. And if Vox could open one on purpose, the whole city would have to watch. Charlie didn't sleep. The Hazbin hotel felt different now, like it had become a lighthouse in a storm. She paced the lobby with a clipboard in her hands, the same clipboard that now had a perfect round hole in the corner. Nifty had tried to tape it. Charlie had stopped her. The hole felt like a message. Strange, but clear. Vaggie sat on the couch with her spear across her knees, eyes sharp, jaw tight. Angel Dust leaned against the wall, arms wrapped around himself, trying to act casual, but failing. Husk sat behind the bar and poured a drink he didn't even taste. And the stranger, still silent, still unknown, stood near the front doors like a guard. Charlie watched him in small side glances. He had not spoken once since arriving, but he had acted. He had sealed the tear. He had kept the war demons from pouring in. He had not attacked the hotel staff, even when Angel made jokes and Serpentius tried to scan him. Charlie wanted to believe that meant something. But in hell, belief could get you killed. She finally stepped closer, careful not to crowd him. Hi. Again. No response. Charlie swallowed and kept going. I know you don't talk. Or maybe you just don't want to. That's okay. She held the clipboard up, then lowered it again, feeling silly. I'm going to try something else. She set the clipboard on a nearby table and flipped to a clean page. In large, clear letters, she wrote, Are you here to stop the green tier? She held it up. The stranger stared at the words. His helmet tilted. Then he lifted one gloved hand and tapped the word, Stop, once. Firm. Charlie's heart jumped. Okay, great, that's good. Vaggie's voice cut in. That doesn't mean he won't stop us, too. Charlie's shoulders tightened. Vaggie! Vaggie stood, stepping closer, spear still in hand. Her eyes stayed on the stranger's helmet. Answer this. She pointed her spear tip at the floor between them, not at him. Do you see us as demons? As targets? The stranger did not move. For a long second, Charlie felt the whole room hold its breath. Then the stranger's hand lifted again. He reached to his chest and pulled out the small metal symbol he had shown earlier. He set it on the table beside Charlie's clipboard. He tapped it once. Then he tapped the word, Stop again. Then he pointed, slowly, clearly, toward the doors, toward the city, toward the direction where the tier had opened. Charlie understood the shape of it. Not, you are targets. More like, my targets are out there. Vaggie didn't relax, but her grip shifted slightly. That's not a promise. Husk snorted. In this city, you'll take what you can get. Angel Dust cleared his throat. So, he's like a big silent security system. Vaggie shot him a look. Angel raised his hands. What? I'm trying to cope. Charlie looked down at the symbol again. It was worn. It had sharp edges. It felt like it came from a world that did not do therapy sessions. Still, she tried, because that was who she was. She wrote again. Do you want help? The stranger stared. Then he turned his helmet slightly toward the hallway, toward the stairs, toward the rooms where people slept, and tried to pretend the world wasn't cruel. He paused. Then he turned back to the paper and tapped the word, Help, once. Charlie's face softened. Okay, she whispered. Then we'll help. Vaggie's eyes narrowed. We'll try. From the back of the lobby, Alastor's voice floated in. cheerful as always. "Oh, how touching." Charlie's stomach sank. Alastair stepped into view with his easy smile, cane in hand, eyes bright like a predator enjoying a slow meal. A silent guest who answers with taps and gestures. "My dear Charlie, you're collecting the most interesting problems." Charlie forced her voice steady. "Alastair, not now." Alastair waved a hand. "Nonsense. It's always now in hell." He looked at the stranger. "Tell me, newcomer, are you here to purge demons? Or to purge something else?" The stranger's helmet turned toward Alastair. Alastair's smile held, but Charlie saw it again. The tiny change behind Alastair's eyes. A small calculation. A quiet warning. He could feel something in this armored stranger that didn't fit the normal games of hell. Charlie stepped between them. "He's here because a tear opened. Because something is coming." Alastair chuckled. "Oh my dear, something is always coming." Vaggy's spear shifted an inch, not threatening, but ready. "Say what you want and leave." Alastair's grin widened as if she had given him a gift. "Very well. I'll say something useful." He leaned closer to Charlie, voice lower now, still smooth. "The overlords are talking. The V's are especially excited. They want your guest. They want his armor. They want the story." Charlie's eyes widened. "They can't have him." Alastair's gaze flicked to the stranger. "Can't? Or shouldn't?" Charlie's hands clenched. "Alastair." He held up one finger. "And heaven is also talking. Your little early visitor, Loot, has made some calls." Vaggy's expression darkened. "They're planning a bigger purge." Alastair's smile stayed. "Perhaps." Then he straightened, all charm again. "So, my dear Charlie, you should decide what this hotel truly is." Charlie blinked. "What do you mean?" Alastair's eyes gleamed. "Is it a place of redemption? Or is it a fortress?" Charlie didn't answer fast enough. Alastair tipped his hat slightly toward the stranger. "As for you, silent warrior, if you wish to aim that violence somewhere useful, I have many enemies who deserve your attention." The stranger did not respond. He simply took one step forward. Alastair's smile sharpened. "Ah, not interested in deals." The stranger reached out, fast, and grabbed Alastair's cane. The whole room froze. Alastair didn't pull away. His grin held, but his voice had gone quiet. "Careful." The stranger did not threaten. He did not squeeze. He simply held the cane and looked at Alastair as if measuring him the way he measured enemies. Then he released the cane and turned away. A message without words. "I don't play your games." Alastair's smile returned to its full size, but his eyes looked colder now. "How refreshing," he said softly. Then he stepped back and vanished into the shadows like he had never been there at all. Charlie exhaled slowly. Angel Dust let out a shaky laugh. "Okay, so he just told Alastair no without saying anything." Husk muttered. "That might be the scariest thing I've ever seen." Later that night, Charlie found her father in the hotel's upper hallway. Lucifer had not left after the battle. He had not stormed in and taken over. He had simply remained, like a storm cloud that chose to sit on the roof instead of moving on. He stood by a window, looking out at the city. His posture was relaxed. His eyes were not. Charlie approached slowly, hands clasped. "Dad?" Lucifer didn't turn. "You brought a war into your hotel." Charlie's throat tightened. "I brought a person who stopped a tear between worlds." Lucifer finally looked at her. His gaze was sharp enough to cut. "You think that makes him safe?" Lucifer asked. Charlie held his gaze. "No, but it makes him important." Lucifer's lips curled faintly. "Everything important in hell gets used." Charlie's hands clenched. "Not if I can help it." Lucifer's eyes softened for a split second, then hardened again. "Charlie, you don't understand what you invited in." Charlie swallowed. "Then tell me." Lucifer's voice dropped. "I can feel it. That green rip was not my hell. It was not heaven either. It was something else. Something that eats worlds and calls it fuel." Charlie's breath caught. "Fuel?" Lucifer looked away toward the city. "There are powers in existence that don't care about redemption. They don't care about love. They care about energy, about feeding, about winning forever." Charlie's heart pounded. "And he's fought it." Lucifer's gaze flicked down the hallway, toward the lobby where the stranger stood. Yes, Lucifer said. He's fought it, which means it has noticed him. Charlie's voice trembled, but she forced it steady. So we work with him. Lucifer's smile was thin. You want to work with a being who kills demons as a habit. Charlie's eyes flashed. I want to work with someone who protects people who are in danger. He didn't have to help those sinners on the street. He did. Lucifer's face changed slightly, like Charlie had landed a hit. Then he sighed. You always find the one good detail and build a whole castle on it. Charlie stepped closer. Dad, I'm not asking you to trust him. I'm asking you not to destroy him. Lucifer's eyes narrowed. If he threatens you, I know, Charlie said quickly. I know, but give me a chance. Lucifer looked at her for a long time. Then he said, Vox is already moving. Charlie blinked. You know? Lucifer gave a small, humorless laugh. This is my city, Charlie. I hear things. Charlie's jaw tightened. Then help me protect the hotel. Lucifer's expression turned distant. I can't sit here and solve every problem for you. If I do, you never learn. And if you never learn, hell eats you. Charlie's eyes stung, but she didn't look away. Then teach me. Lucifer's gaze softened again, very slightly. Fine. He lifted a hand. A faint red glow appeared, like a thin layer of invisible glass along the edges of the window frame. I can reinforce your walls, Lucifer said, quietly, without making it obvious. But you need more than walls. Charlie nodded. I know. Lucifer's eyes flicked toward the stranger again. He is not your project. He is a weapon with its own mission. Charlie whispered. Then maybe I can give him a reason to aim at the right thing. Lucifer didn't answer, but he didn't say no. Across the city, Valentino sat in a velvet chair with his feet up, watching Vox's broadcast on a private screen. Velvet lounged on the armrest, scrolling through messages like the whole thing was a fashion show. Vox paced. The three of them were together in a room full of screens and lights and expensive silence, the kind of room that made people feel small when they walked in. Valentino exhaled smoke and grinned. Big guy's cute. Very rip and tear. Velvet rolled her eyes. He's trending in like 9 zones. That's the only cute thing about him. Vox stopped pacing and pointed at the paused frame of the stranger's armor. That suit is the key. You see how it takes hits? You see how he moves? It's built to fight something worse than sinners. Valentino shrugged. So we take it. Velvet snorted. And how exactly do you plan to take it from the walking tank who stared down exorcists? Vox's smile returned, sharp and bright. We don't fight him head on. Valentino leaned forward. Then what? Vox tapped the screen where Charlie stood between the stranger and the chaos. We pull on the soft part of the story. Velvet's eyes narrowed. The princess. Valentino's grin widened. Oh, that's evil. Vox's smile turned pleased. Thank you. He snapped his fingers, and another screen lit up. It showed the Hazbin Hotel from a distance. A drone angle. They're protecting him, Vox said. They think he's a guest. A hero. A problem they can fix. Velvet laughed. Adorable. Vox's eyes gleamed. We don't need to fix him. We need to redirect him. Valentino flicked ash onto the floor. I can grab Angel. That'll get Charlie upset. Velvet's voice went cool. Careful. If you touch their spider too hard, the princess will break the whole city trying to save him. Vox nodded slowly. Exactly. That's what we want. He leaned toward the screens, voice low. We create a crisis. A controlled crisis. Something that looks like the green tear is opening again. Something that draws the armored stranger out. Then we trap him. Valentino laughed. Trap him with what? A net? Vox's smile didn't change. With a gate. Velvet's fingers paused on her phone. You're not serious. Vox's eyes shone. I am very serious. He tapped another screen. It showed a hidden warehouse district. Old buildings. Underground tunnels. Places where hell hid its worst secrets. We found residue, Vox said. Green. Wrong. It's like a scar in the air. Valentino's grin faded a little. That's not normal hell magic. Vox nodded. No, which means it's valuable. Velvet's voice sharpened. Or deadly. Vox lifted his shoulders. Everything valuable is deadly. He turned to them, smile wide. We build a signal. We call the gate. We lure the warrior. We capture the suit. And then, he spread his hands. We sell the future. Valentino and Velvet stared at the screen. Then Valentino chuckled. Okay, I'm in. Velvet sighed. I hate how much I'm in. Vox's smile widened. Outside, the city kept screaming like normal. Inside, the plan took shape. Angel Dust tried to act like nothing was wrong. He failed. He sat on the edge of a hotel bed in a room that wasn't his. His leg bounced. His fingers tapped. His mind kept replaying the street fight. The armored stranger didn't flinch. Didn't fear heaven. Didn't fear hell. Didn't fear death. Angel had feared everything for a long time. He stared at his hands, at the marks on his skin, at the memories he didn't want. He could still hear Valentino's voice in his head sometimes, even when Valentino wasn't there. Then there was a knock at the door. Angel's spine went stiff. Yeah? Charlie stepped in slowly, gentle like she didn't want to scare him. Hey. Angel forced a grin. Hey, boss. You come to give me homework? Step 1. Stop being a disaster? Charlie smiled faintly, but her eyes were tired. I just wanted to check on you. Angel looked away. I'm fine. Charlie didn't argue. She sat on the chair near the door and folded her hands. You don't have to be fine. Angel's jaw tightened. Everyone's freaking out about the big armor guy. I'm not the main show anymore. Isn't that great? Charlie's voice was soft. I'm still worried about you. Angel's grin cracked. Why? Charlie blinked. Because you matter. Angel's throat tightened. He looked down quickly so she wouldn't see too much. Charlie hesitated, then said, He scares you. Angel laughed too loud. Who, Mr. Silent Murder Suit? Nah, I'm not scared. Charlie didn't push. She just waited. Angel's shoulders sagged. Okay, yeah, he scares me. Charlie nodded. Why? Angel swallowed. Because he looks at demons like they're not people, like they're bugs. Charlie's voice went quieter. Do you think he looks at you that way? Angel didn't answer right away. Then he whispered, I don't know. That was the worst part. Charlie stood, stepping closer. Angel, listen to me. You're not a bug. You're not a thing. You're you. Angel's eyes flicked up. And what if he doesn't care? Charlie's face tightened with stubborn warmth. Then, I'll make him care. Angel let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh, and almost sounded like a sob. Good luck with that. Charlie reached out, then paused, respecting Angel's space. He answered my questions today. Not with words, but he understood. He tapped help. Angel blinked. He did? Charlie nodded. He did, and he didn't hurt anyone in the hotel. Even when Husk mouthed off and you joked, and Penchus tried to poke him. Angel's mouth twitched. Penchus is going to get himself vaporized one day. Charlie managed a small smile. Maybe, but not yet. Angel leaned back, exhaling. So what now? Charlie's eyes hardened slightly. Now we protect the hotel, and we protect him from people who want to use him. Angel's face shifted. People like Vox. Charlie nodded. And Valentino. Angel went still. Charlie noticed and quickly said, I'm not saying it to scare you. I'm saying it because I want you safe. Angel's voice went flat. Valentino doesn't care about safe. Charlie's hands clenched. Then we do. Angel looked away again, jaw tight. Okay, boss, I'll try. Charlie nodded, grateful and scared all at once. That's all I'm asking. As she left, Angel stared at the door for a long time. Then he whispered to himself, please don't let the big armor guy decide I'm not worth saving. The next day, the stranger began doing what he did best. He hunted. He didn't announce it. He didn't ask permission. He simply moved. Vaggie noticed first, because she watched everything. She woke up before anyone else, walked past the lobby, and saw the front doors slightly open. The stranger stood outside, staring at the street as if he could see invisible tracks. His weapons were strapped the same way they always were, neat and ready. Vaggie's grip tightened on her spear. She moved quietly, not to sneak like a thief, but to avoid startling a bomb. Where are you going? She asked. The stranger didn't look at her. He lifted a device from his belt, held it in his palm, and let it hum softly. The hum changed pitch, like it was reacting to something in the air. Then he pointed down the street. Vaggie followed his gesture and saw nothing, but she felt it. A faint wrongness, like the air had been burned and the smell never fully left. "You're tracking it," she said. The stranger began walking. Vaggie made a quick choice. She followed. Charlie woke up to Nifty screaming. "No, no, no, no!" Charlie bolted out of her room, hair messy, heart racing, expecting fire or blood. Instead, she found Nifty in the lobby, crouched near the stranger's gear corner. He had quietly claimed a small section near the wall, where he kept his weapons and tools in perfect order. Nifty held a cloth and looked personally offended by the shape of reality. "He left dust," Nifty cried. "On purpose." Husk shuffled in, half awake. "What?" Nifty pointed. "He put his ammo in straight lines, but he left a tiny trail of dirt from his boots, like he doesn't care." Charlie blinked, then sighed. "Nifty. He was outside fighting war demons yesterday." Nifty's eyes burned with cleaning passion. "That is not an excuse." Angel Dust wandered in, rubbing his eyes. "Oh my God, are we doing this again? The cleaning war?" Nifty jabbed the cloth at him. "Do not speak. You shed glitter." Angel gasped. "It's called sparkle. It's a lifestyle." Charlie tried not to laugh. "Okay, everyone breathe." She stepped closer to the gear corner and noticed something new. A small device sat on the floor near the wall. It was dark metal with a faint red light. Charlie knelt carefully. "What is this?" Husk squinted. "Looks like a bomb." Charlie's eyes widened. "What?" A quiet beep sounded behind her. Charlie looked up. The stranger was gone. Only the device remained, humming softly, as if it was listening to the city. Charlie's mind clicked. "It's a sensor. He's setting up warnings." Angel leaned over her shoulder. "So the big guy installed a security system without telling us. That's kind of sweet. In a murder way." Charlie stood, heart tight. "We need to find him." Vaggie's absence hit her like a cold splash. Vaggie followed him. Charlie whispered. Husk muttered. "Of course she did." Charlie grabbed her coat. "Angel, Husk, stay here. Nifty, do not touch the sensor." Nifty pouted. "But it's dirty." Charlie pointed a finger at her. "No." Nifty saluted like a tiny soldier. "Fine." Charlie rushed out the front doors. Vaggie kept her distance as they moved through the city. The stranger walked like he was scanning a battlefield. He turned corners fast. He stopped sometimes, like he was listening for sounds no one else could hear. He touched walls, street signs, broken pavement, as if reading the city with his hands. Vaggie didn't like it. It meant he was smarter than most of the monsters in hell, and smarter monsters were harder to stop. They reached a stretch of old buildings where the neon signs were dimmer and the streets were quieter. The air smelled wrong here. Not just smoke and rot. Something sharper, like burned metal. The stranger stopped. He lifted the humming device again. Its light pulsed faster. Vaggie whispered, "This is where it's strongest." The stranger stepped toward an alley. Vaggie followed. Spear ready. Halfway down the alley, the stranger crouched. On the ground, faint green scorch marks streaked across the concrete, like thin lightning scars. Vaggie stared. "That's from the tear," she said. The stranger reached out and touched the scorch mark with one gloved finger. He pulled back and looked at his fingertip, as if measuring residue. Then he stood and looked up, at a building. It looked like an abandoned studio warehouse, the kind Vox owned dozens of. Its windows were dark. Its doors were heavy. There were cameras, though, hidden, small glints. Vaggie's stomach turned. "This is a trap." The stranger stepped forward anyway. Vaggie's voice sharpened. "Hey, wait." The stranger paused. Vaggie moved closer, keeping her spear between them and the building. "You don't know this city. You don't know Vox." The stranger stared at her. Vaggie swallowed, annoyed at herself for trying to reason with silence. Vox is a manipulator. He uses screens and lies and people. If he's connected to this... The stranger's hand lifted and tapped the green scorch mark again. Then he pointed at the building. Then he pointed at himself. Then he made a simple motion with his hand, like snapping something shut. Vaggie understood. "I close it." She hated that part of her, respected it. Still, she tightened her grip. "Then I'm coming in with you." The stranger didn't stop her. That wasn't comfort. It was permission. Inside the warehouse, the air was colder. It was a large, open space full of cables, screens, and strange metal frames that looked like half-built doors. The walls were lined with cameras. The floor had chalk circles and runes drawn like someone had mixed magic with engineering. Vaggy's skin crawled. "This is wrong." The stranger moved like a ghost, stepping around wires without tripping, weapon up, posture tight. A soft clap echoed. A screen flickered to life above them. Vox's face filled it, smiling like a host. "Welcome," Vox purred. "I was hoping you'd come." Vaggy's blood went hot. "Vox!" The stranger stared up at the screen, unreadable. Vox's eyes gleamed. "You're fast, efficient, quiet, very brand-friendly." Vaggy snarled. "Shut up." Vox chuckled. No, let's talk. I have questions. I have offers. I have..." A second screen lit up, then a third. Vox's face surrounded them. "And I have a problem," Vox continued. "You closed a gate that wasn't supposed to close. Do you know how expensive that mistake was?" Vaggy's eyes flicked across the room. Too many exits. Too many cables. Too many hidden corners. This place was built to trap something. The stranger stepped forward, ignoring Vox's voice. He walked toward the largest metal frame in the center. It looked like a doorway made of welded steel and glowing green lines. The green lines pulsed like a sick heartbeat. Vaggy's stomach dropped. He built a gate. Vox smiled wider on every screen. "Smart girl." The stranger raised his weapon at the frame. Vox's voice sharpened. Careful." A loud click sounded, and the metal frame flared. The air warped. Vaggy felt pressure in her ears like she was underwater. The gate snapped open. Not fully, not cleanly, but enough. A claw pushed through. Green light spilled onto the floor like toxic fog. Vaggy stumbled back, eyes wide. "No!" Vox's face looked delighted. "You see? You came to the right place. I just needed your presence." The stranger didn't retreat. He stepped closer, weapon steady, body braced. Then the claw pulled back, and something stepped out. It was taller than a sinner, built like a monster in armor. Its mouth opened and the sound it made was not a laugh, not a scream. It was a war cry. Vaggy's chest tightened with fear she didn't want to admit. This was not a normal demon. This was a soldier creature from the Green Tear. The stranger moved. He fired. The shots hit hard enough to shake the frame, but the creature didn't fall like the street punks had. It staggered, then roared and charged. Vaggy's eyes widened. It can take his hits. The stranger didn't flinch. He swapped weapons with a smooth motion, like his hands knew the routine without thought. He met the creature head on. The impact rattled metal. The creature slammed into him, trying to crush him with brute force. The stranger planted his boots and held. He was pushed back half a step. Then he pushed back harder. He drove a strike into the creature's side, then fired point blank into its chest. The creature stumbled, but it stayed up. Vaggy rushed in from the flank, spear flashing. She stabbed at its leg joint where armor plates met. The spear bit in. The creature howled and swung an arm. Vaggy dodged, barely, feeling the wind of it. One hit from that would break her. She didn't pretend otherwise. She stayed smart. She stayed fast. Above them, Vox laughed through the screens. "Oh, this is beautiful. You're giving me the best footage of the year." Vaggy snarled. "We're not your show." Vox's smile sharpened. "Everything is my show." A door banged open. More figures poured into the warehouse. Not war demons. Sinners in hired gear. Mercenaries with guns. Vox's security. They aimed at Vaggy first. Vaggy's heart dropped. Too many. Then a familiar voice echoed from the entrance. "Hey, back off!" Angel dust skidded into the warehouse like he'd been launched out of a cannon. Guns in hand, eyes wide with fear and anger. Vaggy shouted, "Angel, get out!" Angel yelled back, "Yeah, no. I'm not leaving you two in a murder warehouse with TV face." He fired silk strands, yanking one mercenary's gun away and slamming him into a cable pile. The stranger didn't look back at Angel. He didn't need to. He stayed locked on the war creature. Because the war creature wasn't the only problem. The gate behind it pulsed again. Something bigger pressed against it from the other side. The frame groaned. Vaggy felt cold dread crawl up her spine. "He's trying to widen it." Vox's voice purred, "I'm trying to perfect it." There is a difference. The stranger glanced at the gate for one split second. Then he did something that made Vaggy's breath catch. He moved past the war creature. He sprinted straight at the gate. The creature roared and grabbed at him, but he slipped under its arm like he knew exactly how far it could reach. He reached the frame and slammed 2 devices onto it, one on each side like clamps. Green light flared. The frame shook. Vox's smile faltered. "No, stop that!" The stranger didn't stop. The war creature charged him from behind, trying to rip him away from the frame. Vaggy saw it and moved on instinct, throwing herself between the creature and the stranger's back. Her spear struck the creature's chest plate and bounced. The creature's arm swung. Vaggy braced for pain. Then the arm stopped. A thick chain of silk wrapped around it. Angel dust, teeth clenched, all 4 arms straining, held the creature's swing back by sheer stubborn force and leverage. Angel's voice shook. "Do your thing, big guy, please!" Vaggy stared at Angel in shock. Angel met her eyes for half a second. Fear, raw and real. "I'm not a hero," Angel said, like he was reminding himself. "But I can do this much." Vaggy's chest tightened. Then she turned back and focused. Mercenaries were still coming. Vaggy spun her spear, striking fast and precise, aiming to disable, not waste time. She cut a gun strap. She kicked a knee. She drove someone back into a pillar. Husk wasn't there. Charlie wasn't there. This was not a team fight. It was survival. The stranger pressed a final sequence into the clamps. The gate screamed. The bigger presence on the other side pushed harder. The frame bent. Vaggy shouted, "It's going to break!" The stranger did not retreat. He pulled a 3rd device from his belt, heavier than the others. He slammed it into the floor directly in front of the gate. It dug into the concrete like a stake. Then the device flared red. Not green. Red. The green light wavered. The gate shuddered like it had been punched. For a moment, the bigger presence on the other side hesitated. Vox's voice rose in anger. "What is that? That's not mine!" The stranger didn't answer. He grabbed the war creature's arm with one hand, yanked it forward, and drove it into the gate's edge. The creature roared as green light ate at it like heat. Vaggy recoiled. "What?" Angel gasped. "That is so messed up!" But it worked. The creature's body blocked the gate's pressure for 1 critical second. The stranger hit the clamps again. The gate folded inward. Vox's screens flickered wildly. "No!" The frame snapped shut with a loud crack. Green light vanished. The war creature collapsed, its strength gone without the gate feeding it. The warehouse fell into sudden, heavy silence. Then every screen went black. Vox's voice vanished. Vaggy panted, spear shaking in her hands. Angel Dust dropped to his knees, breathing hard, eyes wide like he couldn't believe he was alive. The stranger stood still for 1 second, as if checking for another surge. Then he turned his helmet slowly toward the warehouse walls, toward the cameras. He lifted his weapon and fired once. A camera exploded. He fired again. Another camera shattered. Vaggy realized what he was doing. "No footage," she whispered. Angel blinked. He's deleting the show." The stranger kept firing. Methodical. Clean. Until the warehouse's watching eyes were gone. Vaggy stared at him. He didn't want fame. He didn't want fear. He wanted the war contained. A door slammed open again. Charlie's voice echoed through the warehouse, breathless. "Vaggy!" Charlie ran in, eyes wide, face pale. Her gaze snapped from Vaggy to Angel to the stranger, then to the ruined gate frame. Her voice shook. "What did Vox do?" Vaggy swallowed. "He tried to open it again." Charlie's face hardened. "And you stopped it?" Vaggy looked at the stranger. "He did." Charlie stepped closer to the stranger, staring at the clamps and the red stake device in the floor. "That red light," Charlie whispered. "That's different from the tear." The stranger didn't answer, but he looked at Charlie, visor steady. Charlie's voice went quiet. "You're trying to keep something out." The stranger's helmet tilted once. "Yes." Charlie's chest tightened with fear and awe. Then Vox almost killed the whole city for ratings. Angel Dust laughed weakly. "Welcome to hell, princess." Charlie's eyes flashed. "Not if I can help it." She turned toward the shattered screens and broken gate frame. Then she looked back at the stranger. and the words came out before she could stop them. "Who are you?" The stranger paused. He reached to his chest again, to the worn symbol. He held it up. Charlie stared at it, trying to connect it to anything she knew. Nothing fit. Then, from the broken gate frame, a faint green spark flickered once, like a dying ember, and Charlie understood something else. Even closed, the gate had sent a signal, a ping, across worlds. A loud, clear message that said, "This universe is reachable." Vaggie felt it too, like a pressure shift in the air. She whispered, "It's going to come back, isn't it?" The stranger didn't answer with words. He simply began pulling the clamps off the ruined frame, fast and practiced, like a soldier cleaning up after a battle. Charlie watched him, heart pounding. Her hotel was no longer just a weird dream. It was now a front line, and this silent warrior, this unknown demon killer, had just made one thing clear. He would not let hell become someone else's feeding ground, even if he had to fight the whole city to do it. Weeks passed, but the hotel did not go back to normal. In hell, normal meant broken windows, shouting outside, and people pretending they didn't care. Now it also meant quiet beeps from the little sensor near the lobby wall. It meant Charlie waking up at odd hours because the air felt wrong. It meant Vaggie checking the street from the roof before she let anyone open the front doors. And it meant the armored stranger moving through the building like he had always lived there, even though he still had not spoken a single word. Charlie tried to make a routine anyway. She stood in the lobby each morning with a clean clipboard and a pen. She wrote simple questions in big letters. She held them up like signs. Most days the stranger answered with a tap, a point, a small tilt of his helmet. Sometimes he answered by doing something. When Charlie wrote "No violence" in the lobby, he set his heaviest weapons outside the front doors, hidden but ready. It was not obedience. It was strategy, but it also meant he understood what she wanted. When Charlie wrote "check-in time," 10 a.m., he didn't sit on the couch and talk about feelings. He walked to the front desk, placed a single metal token down, and left. The token changed each day. A shell casing, a scrap of green-burned metal, a small bolt from a destroyed camera. Husk called it the world's worst diary. Nifty called it a mess. Angel Dust called it kinda hot in a scary way. Vaggie called it evidence. Charlie called it progress. At night, the stranger patrolled the streets around the hotel. Not for fun, not for praise. He moved like a guard who didn't trust locks. Vaggie followed once, then twice, then more. She didn't talk much. She watched. She learned his habits. He always checked rooftops first. He always kept his back away from open alleys. He never wasted ammo. He never chased sinners who ran away. He only stopped the ones who hunted others. Vaggie noticed that too. It didn't make her trust him, but it made her less sure he would ever turn on the hotel for no reason. One night, Charlie went up to the roof and found him standing at the edge, looking out over the red city. She stepped close, careful, like she was approaching a wild animal that might also be a wall. She held up a small sign she had made with thick marker. "Do you think we are all monsters?" The stranger stared at the words. He didn't tap yes. He didn't tap no. He lifted his hand and pointed, far off to a dark district where the streets were known for traps and predators. Then he pointed closer, down to the street below the hotel, where a sinner couple was walking fast, heads down, trying to get home without being seen. Then he pointed at the hotel itself. Then he placed his palm flat on his own chest, armor and all, and held it there for a beat. Charlie's throat tightened. She didn't fully understand the answer, but she felt its shape, not all the same, not all safe, not all lost, and maybe not even him. Charlie lowered the sign and whispered, "Thank you." The stranger did not move, but the night air felt a little less sharp. Across the city, Vox's tone changed. At first, he had laughed about the hell cleaner. He had played music behind the clips. He had sold shirts with a cartoon helmet on them. He had made it a joke because jokes were easy to control. Then the armored stranger started breaking things that mattered, not buildings. Vox didn't care about those. He broke cameras. He broke traps. He broke plans. Every time Vox sent someone to follow him, the feed cut out. Every time Vox tried to get a clean shot, the lens shattered. Vox stood in his private control room, screens glowing around him like a crown. The footage on the center screen froze on a single frame. The stranger in the warehouse, weapon raised, firing into the ceiling cameras with calm precision. Vox's smile was still there, but it was thinner now. "He's not stupid," Vox muttered. Velvet leaned against a console, nails tapping. "No kidding." Valentino lounged on a chair, annoyed. "So we hit him harder." Vox's eyes flicked to him. "Harder how?" Valentino smiled in a way that never reached his eyes. "We take something he cares about." Velvet snorted. "Does he care about anything?" Vox stared at the screen again. His gaze shifted to the corner of the frame where Charlie had run in, breathless, scared, angry. Vox's mouth curled. "He cares about the hotel," Vox said softly. "Maybe not because he loves it. Maybe because it's a base. Maybe because it's useful." He paused. "Or maybe," Vox continued, "because the princess is the first person here who didn't treat him like a tool." Velvet's eyes narrowed. "So what? You kidnapped the princess?" Valentino's grin widened. "Now we're talking." Vox didn't answer right away. He watched the frozen frame again, studying the stranger's posture, the angle of his shoulders, the way he stood between the broken gate and the people behind him. Then Vox said, "Not yet." Valentino groaned. "Oh, come on." Vox's voice went cold. "He's a machine built for war. If you grab the princess, he won't beg. He won't bargain. He will erase you." Valentino's grin faltered. "Just a fraction." Vox leaned closer to the screens. "We don't take the princess. We take the choice away." Velvet tilted her head. "Explain." Vox lifted a finger, and new images filled the screens. A map of the hotel district, old sewer tunnels, hidden power lines, a cluster of green scorch scars that still lingered like burns in the air. "We make the gate open again," Vox said. "Bigger, louder, right in front of the hotel." Valentino chuckled. "So he comes running." Vox nodded. "And we control the battlefield." Velvet's voice went flat. "You mean you try?" Vox smiled again, bright and sharp. "No, I mean we add one more player." He tapped a new screen. Heaven's symbols flashed for half a second, stolen and incomplete, like a ripped page from a holy book. Valentino blinked. "You've been spying on heaven?" Vox shrugged. "I spy on everyone." Velvet's eyes narrowed. "That's a very bad idea." Vox's smile did not break. "Bad ideas are where the best ratings live." He looked at Valentino. "You want a leash? Heaven wants a purge. The green rip wants to spread. We let them collide." Valentino leaned forward, interested again. Vox's eyes gleamed. "And in the chaos, we put a collar on the warrior." Charlie was in the lobby when the first warning beep changed pitch. It wasn't the normal soft hum. This was sharper, faster. Nifty was polishing the banister, and froze. "Is that a dirty noise?" Husk looked up from the bar. "That's not good." Angel Dust slid off the couch, suddenly serious. "Please tell me that's not a 'we're all gonna die' beep." Charlie's heart thudded. She rushed to the little sensor by the wall. A red light blinked once, then twice. Vaggie came down the stairs fast, spear in hand. "What is it?" Charlie swallowed. "It's picking up the green residue. Close, too close." The front doors shook slightly, not from wind, but from pressure in the air outside. Then the stranger stepped out from the hallway. He moved to the sensor in one smooth stride. He crouched, checked it, and stood. He turned his helmet toward the doors. His whole body tightened. Vaggie's grip tightened too. "It's happening again." Charlie's voice went small. "Right here?" The stranger didn't wait. He grabbed his gear from where he had kept it and pushed the doors open. Heat hit Charlie's face as if the air outside had been cooked. The street in front of the hotel was empty for once, like the city had sensed danger and pulled back. In the middle of the road, green light crackled in a wide circle. Runes and cables sat around it in a messy ring, half magic, half tech. Charlie's stomach dropped. "That's Vox's work!" Vaggie snarled. "He brought it to our doorstep!" The green circle flared. A tear opened. Not a small tear, not a thin crack. A wide mouth of green light split the street open, and the sound that came out of it was like metal being torn. Something moved inside. Something big. Angel Dust backed up a step. Nope, 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 nope. Husk's voice was tight. We should have moved the hotel. Charlie stared at the tier and felt anger rise in her chest. Not wild anger. Clean anger. You don't get to use my home, she whispered. The stranger stepped forward, alone, toward the tear. Charlie reached out without thinking. Wait! He didn't stop. Then the sky above the street flashed white. Figures dropped down like spears of light. Exorcists. More than last time. They formed a half circle in the air, wings spread, weapons aimed. Their leader hovered in front, armor shining, expression hard. Loot. Her eyes locked on the tier first, then on the armored stranger. Then she looked at Charlie and the hotel behind her. Her voice rang out, cold and clear. This area is marked. Vaggy's face went pale with rage. You can't just… Loot cut her off. We can. Charlie stepped forward, hands up. They opened a gate. That's not us. That's not the hotel. That's Vox. Loot's eyes didn't move. Hell lies. Charlie's jaw clenched. Not about this. Loot lifted her weapon and pointed at the armored stranger. And you, she said, voice full of disgust, are worse than hell lies. The stranger didn't react. Loot's wings flared wider. Heaven has seen you, she said. We have records now. The rip between worlds brought your name with it. Charlie's breath caught. Loot spoke the words like she was naming a disease. The Doomslayer. The air seemed to tighten around that name. Angel Dust blinked. Doom. Slayer? Husk muttered. That's not a nickname. That's a warning. Charlie stared at the stranger's helmet. The name felt heavy. It fit him in a way that made her stomach twist. Loot's voice rose. You slaughtered demons. You defy angels. You bring war wherever you step. Heaven offers you a choice. She descended a little, closer to street level. Careful not to get too close. Help us cleanse, Loot said. Help us wipe out the infestation. Do that, and we will open a path. We will send you back to your war, back to your purpose. Charlie's heart pounded. She looked from Loot to the tier, to the Doomslayer. This was the offer. This was the trap. Vaggy leaned toward Charlie, whispering, "Don't let her talk to him." Charlie whispered back, "He can hear. He's choosing already." The Doomslayer stepped toward the tear again. Loot's eyes narrowed. "Answer." The Doomslayer did not speak. He raised his weapon. Not at Charlie. Not at Vaggy. Not at the hotel. He aimed at the cables and runes around the tear. Then he fired. The first shot shattered a metal anchor. Sparks flew. The green light wavered. Vox's voice burst from hidden speakers in the street, bright and excited. "Yes! There he is! The Doomslayer in the flesh!" Charlie's eyes widened. "He's broadcasting this!" Husk snarled. "Of course he is." More shots. More anchors broke. The tier trembled. Then something surged from inside. A war demon taller than a car pushed through, armored, heavy, with green light leaking from cracks in its skin. It roared. The sound shook windows. Charlie's knees went weak, but she stayed standing. The Doomslayer didn't hesitate. He charged. He hit the creature with a blast that would have torn most sinners apart. It staggered but didn't fall. It swung a massive arm, trying to crush him. He slid under it and drove into its side, punching hard enough to dent armor. The creature turned, furious, and slammed both fists down. The Doomslayer leapt back, boots skidding on broken pavement, and snapped his weapon up again. Above them, Loot watched like she was judging a test. Then she gave an order. "Cleanse the area," she said. Exorcists dove. Not just at the war demon. At everything. Holy blades flashed toward sinners who had peeked out from the alleys, toward the hotel doors, toward Angel Dust. Vaggy snarled and threw herself in front of Angel, spear clashing with an angelic weapon with a sharp, ringing sound. Angel Dust yelped, "I did not sign up for heaven stabbing again." Charlie's voice rose, desperate. "Stop! They're not the enemy right now." Loot didn't look at her. Hell is always the enemy. Charlie's hands clenched, and the air around her warmed, like something inside her was waking up. Not fully, not out of control, just enough to make the lights flicker in the hotel behind her. Vaggy saw it and shouted, "Charlie, focus!" Charlie swallowed hard and pulled the feeling back. This wasn't the time to explode. It was the time to protect. The Doomslayer kept fighting the war demon. He was fast. He was brutal. He was exact. But this creature was stronger than the scouts from before. It grabbed him. For a split second, Charlie's heart stopped. The creature lifted him like he weighed nothing and slammed him into the street. Concrete broke. Dust rose. Angel Dust shouted, "Big guy!" The Doomslayer moved in the dust. He rose. He was slower for half a second, like the hit had landed. Then he straightened fully and grabbed the creature's wrist. He twisted. The creature roared as its joint cracked. The Doomslayer drove forward, forcing it to step back toward the tear. Then he did something Charlie hadn't seen yet. He pulled out one of his devices, small, heavy, and slapped it onto the creature's chest. The device blinked red. The creature froze, confused. Then the device detonated in a tight, controlled blast. Not a wild explosion. A focused strike that blew armor open and pushed the creature backward into the tear's edge. Green light burned across its body. The creature howled. The Doomslayer didn't stop. He grabbed its head and shoved, using its weight like a tool, forcing it back into the opening. The tear shook. Something bigger pressed from behind it. Angry now, like the other side didn't like losing a soldier. Loot shouted, "Slayer, help us! Kill them all!" The Doomslayer didn't look at her. He didn't look at Vox's cameras either, even as Vox cheered and narrated like it was a sports match. He looked at the tear. He looked at the cables and runes. Then he looked back at the hotel, at Charlie, at the doors where sinners had taken shelter, at the terrified faces watching from behind the windows. He made a choice without words. He turned away from Loot and fired at the last intact anchors around the tear. The tear flickered hard. Vox's voice snapped, annoyed. Hey, don't break my set!" Charlie felt a sharp relief and a sharp fear at the same time. He's not taking Heaven's offer. But if he breaks that tear wrong, the tear surged, unstable. Green light flared outward. A wave of force slapped the street. Charlie stumbled. Windows cracked. And from the tear, a voice rolled out. Not Vox. Not Loot. Something deeper. Older. Crueler. It didn't speak like a person. It spoke like a command. A sound filled Charlie's head, and she understood it without wanting to. "Slayer." The Doomslayer froze for one beat, like a blade that had felt a familiar hand. The voice pressed harder. "Come home." Charlie's stomach turned cold. It's calling him. Vaggie fought an exorcist back with a brutal shove and shouted, "Don't listen." The Doomslayer didn't look at Charlie. He didn't look at Vaggie. He stared straight into the tear. The voice shifted, like it was trying a different tactic. Finish it. End her hope. Open the way. Charlie's breath caught. She realized what it meant. Not just open the gate. Break the thing that fights it. Break the one person in hell who keeps trying to change the rules. Charlie. Her hands shook, but she stepped forward anyway. Toward the Doomslayer. Toward the tear. Toward everything that wanted to eat her hope. She raised her voice, clear and simple. "You don't have to go back," Charlie said. "You don't have to do what it says." The Doomslayer's helmet turned slightly toward her. The voice pushed again. Louder. "She is a demon." Charlie's chest tightened, but she held her ground. "Yes, I am." She swallowed. "And I'm still trying to save people." Loot's face twisted with anger. "Princess, shut up. He is a weapon. He belongs in a war." Charlie shot at her a look full of heat. "He doesn't belong to you." Vox's voice boomed from the speakers, almost gleeful. "Oh, wow. This is incredible. Princess versus Heaven versus Doomslayer. Folks, you're watching history." Husk, battered and tired, dragged a sinner into the hotel and muttered, "If I survive, I'm suing the multiverse." Angel Dust fired silk at an exorcist's wings, yanking her down. "Stop trying to stab my friends." Vaggie blocked another strike and snarled, "He's not your leash." The Doomslayer moved again. He reached to his belt and pulled out the red stake device, the same kind he'd used in the warehouse. He slammed it into the street, right in front of the tear. The red light flared. The green light wavered, as if it hated the color. The voice inside the tear hissed, frustrated. The Doomslayer pressed 2 more clamps onto the broken anchor points, linking them. Green energy screamed as it tried to surge, but the red stake fought it like a lock. Lucifer appeared then, not with a dramatic entrance, just suddenly there, standing beside Charlie like he had decided this was close enough. His eyes took in the tier, the exorcists, the war demon half stuck in the opening, Vox's hidden broadcast, and the Doomslayer's devices. Lucifer's smile was small and sharp. "So," he said softly, "this is the circus." Charlie's throat tightened. "Dad." Lucifer lifted a hand. "Later." He looked up at Lute, and his voice turned cold. "Leave." Lute's eyes burned. "We have authority." Lucifer's eyes flashed. "Not over my daughter." He snapped his fingers. A wall of red force rose between the exorcists and the hotel, cutting off their dive paths. It didn't kill them. It didn't trap them fully. It simply made it clear they could not reach Charlie without going through him. Lute hovered, furious. "You protect sinners." Lucifer's smile didn't move. "I protect my family." Then he looked at the Doomslayer. For a beat, two kinds of power faced each other. One royal, one war-made. Lucifer spoke quietly. "You're closing it." The Doomslayer didn't answer, but he shifted his stance slightly, like he accepted the help. Lucifer's eyebrows lifted a fraction. "Interesting." He turned his palm toward the tear. Red light pressed down around the opening, not to fuel it, but to compress it, to squeeze it shut. The tear screamed, unstable. Vox's voice panicked. No, don't close it. That's my..." Charlie's eyes snapped to the hidden speaker on a street pole. She felt anger flare again, and this time she didn't push it down fully. Her eyes glowed faintly, and the speaker cracked with a loud pop, like the air around it had punched it. Vox's voice cut off mid-laugh. The street went quieter. The Doomslayer moved fast, using Lucifer's pressure to his advantage. He slammed the clamps into their final sequence. The red stake flared brighter. The green light flickered, buckled, and folded inward like a closing mouth. The war demon trapped at the edge thrashed, trying to claw out. The Doomslayer shoved it back in with raw force, not gentle, not merciful, but necessary. The tear shrank. The voice inside it surged one last time, furious and hungry. "Slayer!" Charlie shouted over it, voice shaking but firm. "You choose!" The Doomslayer's helmet tilted, just once. Then he pressed the final trigger. The tear snapped shut with a sharp crack. The green light vanished. The air rushed back in like the world had been holding its breath. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the exorcists pulled back, wings beating hard, regrouping at a distance like they were trying to decide if they had just lost a battle or avoided a disaster. Lute's face was tight with rage. "You refused heaven," she called down to the Doomslayer. "You refused your way back." The Doomslayer didn't look at her. He looked at the street, at the broken anchors, at the hidden cameras. Then he lifted his weapon and fired at the remaining tech in the ring. He destroyed every cable, every rune plate, every hidden lens. One by one. No show, no speech. Just clean up. Vaggie exhaled, shoulders shaking. "He's wiping the evidence." Husk muttered. "He's doing what Vox should have done the first time. Not be an idiot." Angel Dust looked at Charlie, eyes wide and wet, trying to hide it. He didn't take the deal." Charlie swallowed hard. "No." She stared at the Doomslayer's helmet. He had been offered his war, his home, a clear path back to what he knew, and he had chosen to stay here long enough to stop something worse. Lucifer's voice cut through her thoughts. "Low, this is not over." Charlie nodded slowly. "I know." Vaggie stepped closer to Charlie, voice quiet. "We're a target now. For heaven. For Vox. For whatever that green thing is." Charlie's hands clenched. "Then we keep going anyway." Lucifer looked down at Charlie like he was deciding whether to argue. Then he said, "Fine." He glanced at the Doomslayer again. "And him?" Charlie's voice softened. "He's not a him. He's a person." Lucifer's mouth twitched. "That's a generous word." Charlie didn't back down. He protected people today. Lucifer didn't deny it. The Doomslayer finished destroying the last anchor. He turned back toward the hotel. He walked to the front doors and stopped, as if waiting for permission. Charlie stepped aside and opened the doors wider. "Come in," she said softly. He entered, and for the first time since he arrived, He paused in the lobby, not because he was confused, because he was listening. Charlie walked to the front desk and pulled out the clipboard again, the one with the bullet hole. She flipped to a clean page and wrote, slowly, clearly, "New rule, no deals with evil." She held it up with a small smile. The Doomslayer stared at the words. Then he reached out and tapped "no" once. Then he tapped "deals" once. Then he tapped "evil" once. 3 taps, steady as a heartbeat. Charlie's eyes stung. She didn't wipe them. "Okay," she whispered. "We agree." Behind her, Vaggie watched him with a hard face and a softer fear. She wasn't ready to trust him, but she couldn't deny what she had seen. When the world tried to pull him like a leash, he snapped the leash. Not for heaven, not for Vox, not even for Lucifer, for the mission, and maybe, just maybe, for the people under this roof. A few days later, the hotel's redemption board had a new section. Charlie had drawn it herself with bright markers. Safety upgrades, not a prison. Husk rolled his eyes every time he saw the title. "It's a prison," he said. "It's not," Charlie insisted. "It's a prison with glitter," Husk replied. Nifty loved it. She loved anything that involved organization. She ran around with a feather duster, yelling about dust levels like dust was a personal enemy. Angel Dust pretended he didn't care, but he kept peeking out the windows less often. He slept a little more. Vaggie started taking shifts on the roof with the Doomslayer. They didn't talk, but they communicated. A point, a hand signal, a shared glance toward a shadowy street. It was the closest thing to teamwork Vaggie had ever had with someone she didn't fully trust. One evening, Charlie sat alone in the lobby, updating the redemption chart with neat handwriting. She paused, pen hovering, and looked at the corner of the board where she'd written a list of guests. Angel Dust, Husk, Nifty, Serpentious, and now, after a long debate with herself, she had written, Doomslayer, temporary guest. The words looked strange in bright marker. She heard footsteps and looked up. The Doomslayer stood in the doorway, helmet tilted slightly as he looked at the board. Charlie held her breath, suddenly unsure if naming him like that was rude, or risky, or both. She forced herself to speak anyway, voice gentle. "That's what Loot called you." The Doomslayer didn't move. Charlie swallowed. "If it's wrong, I can erase it." The Doomslayer stepped closer. He walked to the board and stared at his name. Then he reached up and placed 2 fingers against the chalk tray under it. Not a tap this time. A pause. Then he turned and walked toward the front doors. Charlie blinked, confused, until she noticed what he'd left behind. A small piece of metal sat on the chalk tray. A token. On one side, it had the same worn symbol he'd shown them on the first night. On the other side, someone, maybe him, had scratched a simple mark into it. Not a signature, not a fancy design, just one clean line, like a check mark. Charlie's throat tightened. She picked it up carefully, like it might break if she held it wrong, and she understood what it meant in the simplest way. Not "thank you," not "I'm healed," not "I'm your friend," just "I heard you. I accept the name. I'm still here." From the stairs, Vaggie watched Charlie's face soften. Vaggie didn't smile, but she did let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, because for the first time, the hotel didn't feel like it was waiting to collapse. It felt like it was being guarded. That night, the city skyline glowed red as always. Sirens wailed far away. Neon signs buzzed. Somewhere, a sinner screamed, and someone else laughed. Life continued, just different now. On the hotel roof, the Doomslayer stood at the edge, looking out over the dark streets beyond the district. Vaggie stood a few steps behind him, spear resting against her shoulder. She broke the silence, voice quiet. "You're still terrifying." The Doomslayer didn't turn. Vaggie glanced down at the street below, where 2 weak sinners hurried past, keeping close to the hotel's light like it was a safe path. Vaggie continued, words rough but honest. "But you're consistent." The Doomslayer's helmet tilted, just a fraction. Vaggie let out a short breath. "In hell, that's rare." Behind them, the rooftop door opened softly. Charlie stepped out with a mug in her hands. She didn't offer it to him. She didn't push. She just stood near the door, watching the two of them like she was watching a small miracle stay upright. Her eyes moved to the Doomslayer, and she spoke in the simplest way she could. "You don't have to be alone," she said. The Doomslayer didn't answer, but he didn't leave the roof either. He stood, silent as stone, watching the distance for the next wrong glow. Below, the Hazbin Hotel's lights stayed on. Above, the red sky stayed red. And on the roof, a warrior built for endless war guarded a place built for hope, because even in hell, somebody had to decide what was allowed to enter.